Good evening, everybody. I'm meteorologist Chris Higgins with a winter storm update for Chris's Corner late Thursday evening. Obviously, things haven't gone exactly as planned, but overall, the storm system is still on track. I know that sounds kind of confusing, but here's the best that we've got for you right now. The best fit with the overall atmospheric profile that we're looking at is for it to cool enough to produce some snow and sleet mixed with some accumulations between now and about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. The overall profile gets to its coldest point between now and 3 o'clock in the morning, according to the models, and that would seem to bear out with the current trends of ongoing increases in sleet and snow and the precipitation, especially in the northwest suburbs of St. Louis and points onto the north and to the west. Start you off with a look at the radar picture right now over the Midwest, and you can see the focus for precipitation is in a band from St. Louis, stretching to the south into the southwest into Arkansas and even down into Texas. The model solutions would have us believe that this precipitation should be shutting off very shortly, but the reality of the matter is it's intensifying to the southwest, and the reason I think that's going to continue, the intensification trend, is because there's a 300 millibar jet streak ejecting through Arkansas right now, and the left front quadrant of that jet streak is focusing in north central Arkansas and then will continue to track to the northeast into the St. Louis area. So that will enhance the lift along a line basically centered from Springfield, Illinois through St. Louis down to about Poplar Bluff in Missouri and points to the south into Arkansas. That should keep the precipitation steady and ongoing through much of the overnight hours. I'd say through about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning before that focus for lift begins to shift away and the rain, sleet, and snow with this first wave will begin to taper off. The question is how much, if any, accumulation will fall in the form of sleet and snow. And I still am holding out that some of you will get some minor accumulations, maybe a couple of inches of sleet and snow combined. And we're seeing that in areas, especially the west side of Metro St. Louis and points on to the north at this hour. Interesting setup showing up on the 0Z. This is actual real data from the 0Z 850 millibar level, about 5,000 feet up. And the key here is the freeze line. Notice at 6 o'clock this evening, that freeze line was well north of St. Louis. That's why we only had that very brief hit of sleet and snow on the leading edge, and then it all changed over to basically rain from St. Louis to the south through a good portion of this evening. The change that's coming up is the models are indicating a drop at 850 millibars to below zero by midnight tonight here in St. Louis, and that in turn should be enough to help us bring enough cold air down to overwhelm the warm layer and produce more of a snow sleet situation than a sleet and rain situation, which has been the case over the last hour or two. Taking a look at the close-in radar for the St. Louis region, and you can see the evidence of the enhanced lift from that 300 millibar jet streak with the elements of precipitation expanding rapidly from south to north. I've seen on the blogs a lot of you saying you're looking at the radar seeing 35, 40 dBz returns and you're only getting drizzle out of it. What you're seeing here on the radar is what's called the melting layer. That's where the heavy snow is falling into that warm layer below, that very thin, skinny warm layer, and it's melting. Melting snow is a super highly reflective target, so it shows up very well on the radar, which is what we're seeing down here across parts of Franklin County and into Jefferson County. That's what you're seeing. That's melting at a couple of thousand feet, and then you're getting the leftovers of the melting, unfortunately, which has been rain and some sleet down there. We do have an interesting feature showing up out here across, again, that northwestern quarter, if you will, of the viewing area in northwestern metro. It appears the rain snow line is ever so slightly beginning to shift onto the south and southeast. And again, I think areas from Bowling Green down to the western suburbs of St. Louis and then northeast into Illinois west of I-55, that's the most likely area to see accumulating snow and sleet to any sort of depth across the bi-state area this evening and overnight tonight. So let's get to the nitty gritty. I would love to explain more of the science and the technicalities about what's going on, but it's getting late and I'm not making any sense with some of what I'm talking about. And the bottom line is really what's most important. The area that's going to have the ingredients overlaid for the best conditions for accumulations is going to be along the Illinois River, basically between the Illinois River and Interstate 55 in Illinois, into the northwestern half of the metro St. Louis area, down towards Franklin County along Interstate 44 in Missouri. That's the area where the combination of lift and the coolest profile will exist the longest, so that I think there's still a chance for a coating to up to as much as 2 inches of sleet and snow combined between now and about 4 o'clock in the morning. Outside of that area, it's still going to be a mix of rain, sleet, and snow, and there will be maybe a coating to an inch in spots. I already saw that report down in Potosi of about a third of an inch. But in general, accumulations will be a little harder to come by. Certainly should be less than an inch of whatever does come down. But that's the way it looks between now and generally the morning rush hour tomorrow. There will be a break between this wave and wave 2, which I think arrives during the afternoon hours on Friday, starting out in central Missouri and then moving east into St. Louis. So, wave 2. Wave 2 is looking pretty darn impressive out in Kansas and Nebraska right now. As it rotates to the east and southeast, it will send its 700 millibar low reflection south of Interstate 70 from about the Missouri Ozarks or just north of there through an area somewhere to the south of St. Louis, between St. Louis and, say, Perryville, and then south and east from there into southern Illinois. Typically, the heaviest snows with these kinds of systems fall along and to the left of the track of the 700 millibar low. As a result, I'm forecasting a swath of decent snowfall, I think 3 to 5 inches from central Missouri into the southern half of the Fox 2 News viewing area, beginning mainly late morning into the afternoon hours out in central Missouri and then spreading eastward from there. It looks like the evening rush hour on Friday in metro St. Louis proper could be quite a mess, and I think the snow could be heavy at times because there are some indications of some banded structure with strong, moderately strong frontogenesis at mid-levels, and even if you look at the soundings aloft, there's some pretty steep lapse rates in the mid-levels associated with the upper-level system that could, in fact, enhance the precipitation as well. But a general 3 to 5 inch snowfall, I think, coming with the second phase of this storm late tomorrow morning and into the evening hours on Friday. So,